What's going on, brother? How we
Dan,
doing?
welcome back, my man. How are you? Welcome back.
What a trip. What a trip. Did a wild wedding week last week. Got to get our boy Chris married. Shout out to the Petersons for letting us come out to Las Vegas and enjoy that with them. Not your typical wedding, made our way out to the
Absolutely.
Red
Yeah.
Rocks, about an hour and a half outside of Vegas for the actual ceremony, and then took a party bus back to the strip to, tie a bow on that day. So that was great. And then made our way back to Vegas and got my boss at Paycom, Brian Porting, married. So was a lot of fun getting to enjoy their company in downtown Kansas City, and then send him off to man, I want to say they're going to like Grenada for their honeymoon. But yeah,
Right on.
it was a great week. Sad I missed
Man, that's a
missed the recap show though. Sounded like you and Strato had a lot of fun.
yeah, I think we had some fun. And sounds like you had a pretty hectic week, bro. That's two weddings 1 week. A lot of people don't even do two weddings in 1 year. So
Yeah.
you must be the right guy to have at the wedding. What's your trick, man? What are you bringing to the wedding? What vibe are you bringing to the wedding? I saw that green jacket actually. That's the
Oh
vibe.
yeah, you already know. I'm bringing the vibes for sure. It's funny, we for Chris's wedding, the wife, Heather, you've met several times, she is a huge Elvis fan, so she's actually wearing blue suede shoes for the ceremony. So a
Okay.
request was that everyone wear something flashy, so I had to pull out the satin green sports coat with a, gold bow tie. It was I was feeling smart, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah,
But I just try to
you
bring
look
the
pretty good, man. You
positivity,
look
man. I
good.
want to get people on the dance floor. I want to see people enjoying themselves, and, just trying to encourage any and all fun behaviors.
Yeah, I don't blame you. You bring that vibe wherever you go, that's for sure. But getting into the show
Appreciate you.
here, Dan. Let's get kicked off with the show agenda real quick. We're gonna run through just some Chiefs news and run through some games. Obviously, we had a bye week last week, so we're not gonna really dive into the Chiefs Eagles just quite yet. But we're gonna bring this in with one of our sponsors here. That is Better Homes and Garden. My wife, Katie Lawrence, who is a realtor with Better Homes and Garden. She is looking to serve the whole Kansas City area. So if you want to buy, sell, build your dream home, whatever it may be, Katie is the person to take care of that for you. You can find her contact information here on the YouTube show on this nice little picture we got here for you. Or you can contact her at 816-868-1920. That is her cell phone. She'll get right back to you. So, Dan, kick us
Love it.
off with some news here, brother.
Dude, what an exciting bye week. We'll jump into everything that kind of went down for the Kansas City Chiefs, because I think we were winning in multiple areas, even though we didn't step up, a single cleat on a blade of grass. So, starting with Travis Kelce, world traveler, you think my travels were crazy. This guy made his way all the way out to Buenos Aires, Argentina. I want to say it
Yeah,
was Buenos
yeah.
Aires was the exact city, but out to
Yes.
Argentina to catch the Girlfriends concert, Taylor Swift. And there was an interesting lyric that I think most people have probably seen the video by now. If you didn't go and seek it out yourself, I guarantee you your wife or girlfriend has shown you that video of
Yes.
her changing the lyrics to the song to include the Kansas City Chiefs, and kind of an homage to Travis Kelce, her man in the stands out there with her dad, who had a Chiefs lanyard
Yeah.
on. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we're converting some diehard Eagles fans, not to get too ahead of ourselves for our episode later this week, but we're
Yeah.
converting some
Yeah.
diehard Eagles fans into Chiefs fans on top of just the craziness that is the Kelce Swift relationship.
Yeah, I mean, what a ride. It feels like this thing's such a roller coaster. I think at this point you got to buy in, whether you're a Swiftie or you're just a Chiefs fan or you're both. I think you got to buy into the game plan here. But it's been a lot of fun, honestly. At first, I was like, man, is this a distraction? What is going on? But at this point, like, we're the world's team. We're not just America's team anymore. We're the world's team. Like we're
Oh
we're
yeah.
down in Argentina and everybody's talking Chiefs down in Argentina. So how much fun is that? And we were already had fans in Germany and the UK and
Yeah.
first team to win four games in four or a game in four different countries. And now Travis is in Argentina killing it with T Swift and I mean, if we weren't on the map, we're for sure on the map now. And
Dude,
as we talk about here in a bit, we put some things fell in order for us this weekend too, man.
it's wild. It's wild. Travis Kelce goes from Germany back to the States to Argentina and back. I mean, is he the first NFL player to go to three countries and in one season? I don't know if these guys can get out too often. I guess maybe if you're going to Mexico or something on the bye week, but I mean that guy
Yeah,
is just
yeah, yeah,
hopping around all over the place. And I you brought it up while you're kind of going through that, whether or not this is a distraction, not just for him, but for the team as well. Just because they're constantly getting badgered with these questions about Taylor Swift or, whatever the case might be in their media sessions. I mean, a buddy of mine who I work with, his wife is a teacher, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually made his way out to her classroom today. And so he was turning around and telling me, you know, oh, they were asking Clyde this and Clyde that. And all the kids, of course, had questions about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. So it's like top of mind constantly for these guys. And you always wonder if it's going to be a distraction for sure. And it was actually a key topic of discussion on, I want to say this was on ESPN earlier today. Scott Pioli, a guy you're familiar with as the old GM here in Kansas City,
yeah,
he
yeah,
kind of weighed in on it and I loved his take on everything as far as, what these guys are doing off the field. And he kind of comes right out and says, in my time as a general manager, I got caught up micromanaging the things that my players were doing on and off the field. If I felt like they were putting themselves in a position where they could be in a distracting place, not just for themselves, but for their teammates, I would interject.
yeah.
And that's something that he said he regretted during his time or I guess his
Very
time
interesting.
after leaving that job. So it was one of those situations where it's like, you can have a really negative impact if you're just policing these guys all the time. And
Yeah, yeah,
Kelsey's a pro. I feel like he's communicating these things, and it was probably something that's been going on or planned for a while at least. So
yeah.
in terms of is it a distraction for him? I mean, who's saying he's not reading the playbook or watching film on those plane rides, right? Like you can do
Right,
that anyway.
right, right.
So
Yeah,
I'm not going
it's
to be
it's
that guy that tries to nail him down.
yeah, no, I agree. And honestly, it's a long week. Like it is a good opportunity to take 2 or 3 days and really kind of relax your body. One, kind of heal up a little bit, but two, wind down the brain a little bit, man. Get some rest, chill out with some people you enjoy hanging out with. Take a breather. I saw Justin Reed
Absolutely.
was at the beach as well with his girlfriend or wife. I'm not sure if he's married, but he was kicking it back. I mean, I think that's hugely important for these guys, especially with the added game the last couple of seasons, extending
Hmm.
the season a little bit for these guys. It's super important to take that middle of the season, little breather, kind of reset, recalibrate, get back in the game, come back, and it would be a distraction for me if the energy from Travis trickles into the locker room, but he gets on the field. He's in game mode. Like when we get in practice, he's
Yeah,
he's there to practice. I mean, he's joking around with the guys, but that's Travis Kelce. That's the pro we've had for the last 10 years or so. And so I expect the same things out of him. I don't expect anything different to come out of that. So I
totally.
do have right before we move on though, with the Scott Pioli comment, it's interesting to look at the coaching staff that we had while he was the GM too. Like I feel like Brett Veach, the situation he's in, he doesn't have to manage the players, right? He's a macro guy where Andy Reid is can kind of pull strings at the lower level, and Brett
Yeah.
Veach doesn't have to worry about that. With Pioli, he kind of did have to watch over the shoulder of our coaching staff we had back then, and maybe interject when a GM shouldn't have to. But
Yeah. And that's
just a
definitely
thought here.
I'm to kind of wrap the top, put a bow on it. I can absolutely see how Pioli would feel that way with Todd Haley at the helm. It's like that guy wasn't necessarily every player's favorite, so I'm sure he
Yeah,
had to kind of play the mediator in a lot of those situations too. So, that's, I just trust the pros that are on our team today and the direction that our leadership team is taking them in. Andy Reid tends to
yeah,
have a pretty good hold on everyone in the locker room, and I think that all comes with the respect that he generally garners from everybody, not just the players on his team, but in the media as well.
Yeah.
So, before we get too deep into all of the other games, I do want to touch on the Monday night Manning cast. Now, this has been my favorite way to watch Monday Night Football. If the Manning brothers are doing something on Monday night, I'm watching that broadcast. I'm not looking anywhere else because it's just so hilarious. Like, they
It is,
bring all
man.
these different
It is.
people on. I think this last show they had Kyle Brandt on, who's a Buffalo Bills homer for NFL Network and Good Morning Football. Lindsey Vaughn, I think she's a skier or a snowboarder, right?
Yeah, yeah. She's an Olympian. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's a pro athlete. We'll just put it that way. I'm not sure the particulars
Yeah.
there, but I know her and the Mannings. They have a history doing commercials and stuff like that together, and it's just fun seeing them interact with these other athletes. Well, they put out a little a little promo video. Did you see that one by chance
Yeah.
of them getting Patrick Mahomes on the show?
Yeah, that was gold, man. I had to watch it a couple times because sometimes I'll be watching videos. I'll be like, somewhere in public, and I'm not trying to blare the sound, so I'm like watching the words across the
Trying to be
bottom,
all
like
incognito.
what the hell is going on with this call, bro? And then I had like later I turned it up and I was like, man, there's my man Kermit the Frog there, so that makes sense now.
Hey, Patrick, sorry to wake you up. You up with
Yeah.
the wrong MF.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I wasn't sure what game that came from, and then during the Manning cast, I'm sure you saw it, but they replayed that clip against Crosby when we played the Raiders, I think it was a late chip or just like a "Hey, I'm here,"
Yeah.
a little
Well,
tap
he
after the ball was out, and
he did the little
then
face mask like it was a little headbutt kind of thing.
yeah. So that was great to see. I like to put some context to it because, and Katie and I were talking about this last night too. She was sitting down here watching it with me, and when he's like fired up, like he repeats things 3 to 5 times, like he's just going, and then he cuts it and he's off. You know what I mean?
He's
Which is
like
gold.
what's his name from Goodfellas, like Tommy Two Times or whatever. He's like, I'm gonna go get the papers. He just
Yeah,
has to
yeah,
run it a couple times, really let that message sink in.
yeah. Yeah. So I really enjoyed this. I mean, it was a great show.
Yeah.
And honestly, another kicker to the Manning cast is I got to show Katie some of those old videos of Peyton Manning on SNL when he was playing football with the kids, and they're all huddled up, and he's like,
Pinging
"Let's
him.
have a good time, yeah, let's have a good time. Look out for each other and play hard." And he's out there chucking the balls at these kids and screaming at them, "Go sit in the porta potty! Shut the door!"
Come on, Timmy, you gotta
So,
catch that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was gold. So that was fun to watch some of those videos as well. But yeah, it was fun with Pat Mahomes, man, for sure.
Oh man, it was great. I think my favorite part has to be the superstition talk because I mean, even in my professional day-to-day life, I'm very superstitious personally. I will wear certain suits to certain meetings. I
Wow.
will I have a very particular routine about what I do before I pull up to a business. So there's all these things that I do in my day-to-day to make sure that I'm in the right headspace or whatever, or even just watching games. Like if I'm watching a Chiefs game, I'm wearing a red jersey if we're home or a white jersey if we're away. I'm listening to a certain playlist before I go out to a tailgate at when I'm getting ready. So I'm very superstitious in that regard too. I never bet on the Chiefs. So hearing Patrick Mahomes superstition, I think puts all of mine to shame.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, that's impressive. I mean, I was sitting here trying to think of what I'm doing, I'm not doing anything. I'm off the cuff. I mean,
I got
I
free
walk
balling.
in I walk in and I'm just ready to go wherever it's at, whatever happens, happens. I'm getting after it. But That's impressive, bro. That's a lot of time and thought goes into that. But yeah, I mean, honestly, when I was thinking about Pat Mahomes and wearing the red underwear, I was thinking first thing, I was not really paying attention when the Manning cast was going on. I kind of heard it in the background. I thought they were making fun of him, saying that he was the guy that had the red underwear. Who was that from the Eagles? Was it from the Eagles last week or two
Yes,
weeks
the
ago?
thong guy.
Yes, they got blasted on the sideline. He gets up and he's got a red thumb on. I thought they were giving Pat
My
shit for
man had a
that,
red
saying he was that
G-string
guy.
on.
Oh,
Couldn't
with
even
the
make it
dark,
green. You're playing
yeah.
for the Eagles, man. That thing's gonna stick out so fast, like a sore thumb.
Oh man, I mean that's just gold. But I mean, I was sitting here thinking. I think today on my way home from work or on the way to work today, thinking about that comment that they had, that little segment they had on the show about the red underwear, and I'm like, if this man goes another 10 years in the league, like, is he rocking the same ones?
It's just gonna be a waistband. The rest of it's gonna disintegrate, dude. He's gonna put a freaking like little rubber, like elastic belt on if he keeps
It'll
it
probably
up.
look it'll probably look the same as my man from the Eagles. It'd be the same cut.
Same cut. Just disintegrates into a red G-string.
Oh
Well,
man, that's cool.
he started to defend it too, where he's like, they're not too beat up. They're not too
Yeah,
beat up. I wash them every now and then.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, every now and then, man. Come on, what are we doing here? What are we talking
Yeah,
about?
every time we lose, he watches them. But other than that, we're he's just like Strato in his jerseys. Strato doesn't wash his jersey the whole season, so he's got to rock it
Mahomes
until it
washes his
is.
game day underwear 3 to 4 times a year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, outside of that, it was fun to watch him mingle with the Manning Bros because they're such a good, individually they're like fun to watch and listen to. But when those two, Eli and Peyton, get together and they're doing a skit together, whatever it may be, I mean, it's hilarious. Those guys are funny. I remember a
Dude, they're
commercial a
great.
couple of years ago. They were mingled up on a commercial, but to see Pat kind of mingle in there with them and kind of kick them around a little bit about being slow and giving Peyton some shit about rushing touchdowns and how he looks funny when he runs and them racing like that was fun to watch. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think it's good to see that Pat's still got a sense of humor, even though we've seen some struggles on the offensive side of the ball, and he talked through that a little bit. Dude's got high praise for the defense. Obviously, you
Yeah.
have to at
You
this
have
point.
to.
So, um, yeah. So that was probably my overall most enjoyment I got out of that was like, hey man, Pat's still here. He's kicking it with the Manning Bros and getting down with them. So I enjoyed that.
No, absolutely. It's awesome to see how much he's come out of his shell over the last 2, 3 years because those first couple years he was just so buttoned up. He was like just giving you the stereotypical, yeah, um, just giving credit to everyone else. It's my fault. It's this or it's that. It's very, robotic in his responses. And
Yeah.
now he's like getting a little more loose over the last couple of years. And I feel like the last 2 years really we've seen him display his personality so much more than what we've seen before. And I feel like the Mannings they have a way of just pulling your authentic self out, right? Like they just make you
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. But yeah, that was fun to watch, man. I had fallen off the Manning cast there for a couple weeks, but they definitely brought me back. Definitely brought me
I
back.
think the best part about that Manning cast is when Eli pulls the Manning head out with the big forehead.
I missed that part. I didn't see that.
Oh man, he pulled it out late in the game on Monday, but I think they have the prediction board, and of course Mahomes calls that whole sequence of
Yeah,
plays.
yeah, yeah,
He gets the
yeah,
run, play action, touchdown pass. Well,
yeah.
the week previous they had Trevor Lawrence on, and Peyton made a correct prediction. They put him on the board with his big old forehead, and then they slapped Trevor Lawrence for his correct prediction on his forehead.
Oh, that's funny.
It's just so
That's
good.
pretty good.
So
Yeah,
good.
it
All right,
is.
so
Yeah, yeah.
we'll move it into kind of what went down on the Chiefs bye week with the rest of the AFC, I think it went about as good as it could have gone, to tell you the truth. Before we get into all of those games, I do want to give a shout out to a couple more of our partners here. The first one I want to shout out is the Atlas Saloon. They are out in Excelsior Springs. Schlitz built the saloon back in 1894. It ultimately became what it is today. They actually put a nice new logo on the side of the building I saw, so that's pretty sweet. Getting to see the new designs. I hope they make some stickers or T-shirts out of that bad boy because it looks sweet. It has a very authentic saloon vibe. It's small town where it's located, so it's one of those like you walk in almost like Cheers kind of vibes. Everyone kind of knows each other. It's a good environment. You feel welcomed right when you walk in. So great vibes there. Keith has about 10 different beers on tap, all craft beers. Delicious. I mean, the guy is a true technician with what he does back there brewing those different recipes up. Started that back in 2018 and now today he's got his Scottish ale that's probably the number one rated beer there on tap. All kinds of different events going on throughout the week. Tuesdays you got pool for free. Wednesdays you got your open mic night. They have plenty of people going out there and participating in that. Thursdays, you bring your Atlas shirt, you get a free beer, which is awesome. I mean, you can't really beat that deal. Tons of stuff going on game day, of course. You know, if you're looking for a place to watch Chiefs game, that's definitely a place I recommend. So, Atlas Saloon, Excelsior Springs, check them out for sure. And another local company, E Coffee. Visit them, www.eeroastcoffee.com. Check out all of their different flavors, espressos. I mean, they really are covering the entire coffee circuit for you, bringing those beans from all the best places in the world, roast them in Kansas City and shipping them where you need them. If you want to start your morning right, go to www.eeroastcoffee.com. Week 11, man. What a breath of fresh air, dude. These games all came down to the wire. Each of these four games we're really going to dive into are decided by a game-winning field goal that all fell the Chiefs' favor.
Yes, yes, yeah. What a weekend for football. Just to kick us off here, Dan, Bengals lose to the Texans 27-30. And what we thought was one of the hottest teams in the NFL, the Cincinnati Bengals, and kicking off another season the same way that they have in the past. They start off super slow, 1-3, 2-2, 2-3, whatever it may be, and then they hit a heater. And I think another anticipation was for them to come into and play Houston and roll over Houston. But what we've seen out of CJ Stroud down there in Houston
Not what
has
happened.
been pretty damn solid. And yeah, Houston was able to take away that game there. And like you said, game winning field goal. We had 6 total games this weekend, NFL record for games finished by a field goal. So pretty intense weekend, but the Bengals were on the losing end of this one, and the Chiefs were on the winning side.
Yes, sir. We reaped the benefits there for sure. The Bengals were starting to look hot. They were on a 3-game winning streak, taking down the Bills and the Niners over the course of those 3 games. So going into it, this could turn into what we saw from them last year. They were 5-4 at this point in the season. Or sorry, they were
Yep.
3-4, end up winning out the rest of the season to, ultimately come visit us in Arrowhead for what was a very close game in the AFC Championship. So if they
Yes.
can if they can take the Texans down at home, that's a really big deal for them. But CJ Stroud, man, I think that's the bona fide rookie of the year, like on the offensive side of the ball. There's really no discussion there on that. But now people are starting to whisper about potential MVP run. Now I'm not on board for that just quite yet. But the Texans pushed to 5-4. They're 1 game back from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they have a much easier schedule down the stretch. I think it's very likely we end up seeing the Texans in the playoffs, whether it be them winning the AFC South or as a wild card. So even though we're losing out on the Bengals potentially, who have a very difficult stretch of games, kind of wrapping up their season as well. Um, if the Bengals don't end up making it, then you can already count the Texans in as a potential playoff team. I don't know about you, but I would much rather see a rookie quarterback in Arrowhead than Joe Burrow, who's come out and split the series with us so far.
Yeah, no, same here. And I even when the Chiefs didn't have a solid defense, nothing like we have right now. We were able to see that Chiefs defense really attack rookie quarterback. So I think we see that again. I mean, I would love to see a rookie quarterback in the playoffs. But jumping into the next one here, Dan, Bills lose the Broncos Monday Night Football. We just saw this last night, or you guys will get this on Wednesday. But Monday Night Football, Bills lose the Broncos. Broncos back-to-back wins against the or back to back wins. Yeah, I guess against the Chiefs and then the Bills. Nobody had that slated going into the Broncos season this season, but they pulled out 24-22. The game ends with a 12th man on the field, and they miss the
Ha.
field goal, and then they come back and kick the second one and hammer it in and win the game. I mean, just a tough way to lose the game, man. And really, it's kind of like it really kind of closes the door what it feels like on the Bills season. I mean, that was kind of like, hey, this is kind of
Mm.
where you guys are at right now. And Broncos slammed that door
Wham.
shut pretty tight on them. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Bills can come back from this. It's going to be interesting to see where the Broncos head. Like, are they trying to put something together here? Or what are they trying to do here? So it's going to be interesting to see how both of those seasons play out.
Yeah, absolutely. For the Buffalo Bills, I think you're kind of hitting it on the head, right? They fire their offensive coordinator today on Tuesday. Ken Dorsey gets the axe. They're 5-4. They have a very difficult stretch coming down the end of the season. They travel to Kansas City, they travel to Philly, they host Dallas, they host Miami, and then they play the Jets one more time, who took them down earlier in the season. I mean, those are four very difficult games, and they've already lost four games. So it's going to be
Yeah,
really close for them to make the playoffs. I think, with the way the Dolphins have looked so far, they might have the AFC East kind of, they're very much the favorite to lock it up. We'll just say it that way. But the Bills, man, they've really got to figure
yeah.
something out. All the drama with Stephon Diggs, the turnover issues with Josh Allen. He's leading the league in interceptions again. Nick Wright loves to point out the flaws in the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, and he made sure to put a tweet out very quickly that Josh Allen has led the league in interceptions every year since he's been in the league, and is currently leading the league
Sheesh.
again in that category. Not only is he terrible with his decision making, and the thing that's so rough about him throwing these interceptions is it's not like he doesn't have other guys that he can throw to in those scenarios. He's just going for the home run ball too often. If you look at
Yeah.
the plays where those interceptions are coming, he can take a check down. It's not like he doesn't have James Cook waiting for him in the flat, or it's not like he doesn't have one of the most productive rushing abilities when it comes to quarterbacks. So just seeing what he's been doing,
Very
it's just
true.
coming down to poor coaching and poor decision making. And I don't know if they're going to fix it this year. So makes me very skeptical about them. Taking it to the Broncos, man, Russell Wilson has become a true game manager. No interceptions the last three games, playing it safe with the ball, threw six touchdowns, less than 200 yards a game, but it's allowing that rushing attack to just run rampant. Javonte Williams has been getting a ton of play. The defense has
Beast.
been respectable, right? Now, I don't like the Broncos to make the playoffs necessarily, but if they get in at 9-8 or something like that, I think that's better them than the Bills, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, I would agree with that one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. But let's roll into the Ravens now. So Ravens, people were calling the best team in the NFL, best team in the AFC for sure is what they were calling them. There was a kind of discrimination or a little bit of conversation there between them and the
Colin Hurd was
Niners.
all over the
Being
Ravens.
the best.
Colin Coward.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're a good football team, and but they dropped one to a division opponent, division rival in the Browns. Browns somehow figure out to play some offense this game. They pull it off 33-31.
Big
And
comeback.
again, just the story of the weekend, man, just setting things up for the Chiefs, right? So we were sitting at the same record as what the Browns or the Ravens were, and they come out, take a loss, and so we sit at the top seed in the AFC right now, and kind of really honestly looking like the best team in football. without having to really do much this last weekend. So Ravens, I don't think we could sleep on these guys quite yet. You know, division games are division games. We've talked about it so many times. You can lose these games. We just lost to the freaking Broncos last week, or 2 weeks ago. So these games are never easy, and the AFC North is a tight race right now. Anybody in the AFC North could take the division this year, and we can honestly see 3, maybe even 4 of those teams in the playoffs at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. AFC North. If you looked at the playoff picture a week ago, all four would have been in if the season ended that day. So, the Browns defense has been very solid. They allowed 33 or 31 points to the Ravens this game, but it's carried them through a lot of other situations. This is not the typical AFC North game, by the way. If I was betting on this game, I'm playing the under just because of how often that it hits. So this point explosion is all due to the nature of, them kind of taking their foot off the gas, at the end of the day. So Ravens allowing them to come back, get that ball back. Deshaun Watson breaks that one run so they can kick the field goal. That was a big deal for them for sure. And they did us a huge favor
Yeah,
because
yeah,
now we are
yeah,
the clear cut number one, like you said. Chargers Lions. This is another one where the Chargers have been kind of floundering, hovering around that 500 level. Maybe they get right to it. They fall a game back. They fall 2 games back. They make their way back to 500. That's been the story for them this
yeah.
year. They end up losing on a game-winning field goal as well, 41-38. Dan Campbell goes for it on 4th down to get them into position to kick that field goal. I'm just scratching my head. I love Dan Campbell, baby. If I wasn't a Chiefs fan, I'd be all over the Lions this year.
Dude, me too, bro.
But Staley, I tweeted this out. I said, I'll never call for a guy to get fired, right? I'll never call for anyone's job. But how Brandon Staley has maintained this job for this long is beyond me. He's supposed to be this defensive guru, comes in, let Kellen Moore, let whoever else is the offensive coordinator develop our offense, and whoever's come in has done a great job. The reason why they fire the offensive coordinator is beyond me without taking Staley out too. So all of these things are really hindering the Chargers. And I'm thanking our lucky stars that they're not bringing anybody else in to fix or right that ship because it's just allowing
Yeah,
us to run away with the division year in and year out.
yeah, I kind of look at them not quite the same picture as the Raiders, but there's so much firepower on that offense to where it's like preseason you're kind of looking around like, damn, like the Chargers on paper look great, and the Raiders, back when Derek Carr was slinging the ball, like they got Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, like, damn, this might be a tough division this year, but they can
Right.
never put all the pieces together to make that work. And I mean, thank God, because it's made it an easier run for us in the division, right? Playing those guys twice a year is already difficult. Playing those guys twice a year when they can put all the pieces together would make it that much tougher to do because we get everybody's Super Bowl every time we play somebody. So, um,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see with Staley. You think he makes it through the whole season?
I would have put money that he was the first coach fired, and I would have lost that bet. I think at this point, they're not going to fire him in the middle of the season. That's just kind of my take on it. We're already 10 weeks in, 11 weeks in, coming up on. So, you know, he loses this game. I mean, maybe they fire him, but if they haven't done it up to this point, I don't see how it would happen.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
been wrong before. Way AFC is sitting today, we came in thinking contenders were the Bills. They're 5-5. Chargers are 4-5. Ravens 7-3. They're right there with us. Steelers 6-3. That's a surprise. Bengals are 5-4. Jaguars are 6-3, clinging to that division lead with the Texans on their heels of all teams. I think just the nature of the AFC has been totally wild this year, and I love that the Chiefs are the one constant coming into it. And anybody out there rooting for the Chiefs, you got to feel pretty damn good.
Yep, and we haven't even figured it out yet.
Isn't that just a freaking trip?
It's
All
beautiful.
people can talk about is how the offense hasn't figured it out, the receivers, us included. Receivers drop passes. We can't get this figured out. Mahomes doesn't trust so and we're 7-2.
Yep, yep, feels pretty
Doesn't
great.
feel real. We're
Bit
spoiled.
really
NFL's
bittersweet.
rigged and scripted.
Yeah, yep, always is, always is.
Yep. Well, I
But
feel like
Dan,
that's
love
that's
it.
a good touch on week 10 and going into week 11. We'll come back later Red Friday for a preview to that Eagles game. Glad to get back in here and talk about it. Glad we had a freaking amazing bye week. I mean, these guys got to be feeling good going into this game with the Eagles. So, Super Bowl rematch preview
Yep,
coming later this week, man. I'm pumped.
let's go. Let's go. Good to have you back, Dan.
Appreciate you, brother. Glad to be back. Go Chiefs.
Chiefs.